Mr. Podcastable, catching the bad guys, podcast.
We should have filmed this because we both had dance moves to go with it.
We added the punches.
We should have set up a camera to catch that.
For the record, I really did want to do the Elastigirl one, but I couldn't remember the rhythm to that off the top of my head.
Elastigirl, catching
Podcast
the bad guys.
Nothing's beyond her podcast.
Okay, great.
See, that doesn't sound as
No, it
catchy.
doesn't work, yeah.
Welcome to the Disney Desk, everyone. I'm Carter.
And I'm Sydney.
And we've been gone for a hot minute.
For just a hot second.
Yeah, we had some old episodes we needed to post. I've been working up the New York Renaissance Fair. You've been doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
I've been transitioning between schools and working a bunch, working 2 jobs, teaching dance.
Yeah.
A lot, so.
Yeah, the moral of the story is we're here now. We're here to give you all
We're here
that.
now. We've seen a bunch of cool stuff, and we're ready to discuss.
Yes, we're going to lay down that hot Disney dish. We're going to lay down the scoop.
Yes.
We're going to bring it. We're going to go for it. Mm-hmm. And
we're going to consider the coconuts.
Yes, we're going to consider
above all
every single coconut we find.
Every single one. Each leaf, each trunk. All of the above.
Yeah, everything that gives us what we need.
Everything.
And we're not going to leave until we finish recording. That is the moral of the story. We're not talking about Moana today. We are actually talking about The Incredibles 2. The long-awaited sequel that we've been waiting for, what is it? How long has it been? 14 years?
A decade plus.
Yeah, a decade
plus. For sure, yeah. I mean, how old do you think we were?
What would it
I don't even know. I actually don't even really remember, like, The Incredibles being in theaters. I feel like it was one of those things that just always
existed.
And it's weird because
right?
I remember when Finding Nemo came out, and I remember that being advertised. I remember there's a lot of movies in that era that I remember,
like those
being like,
mid-2000s.
oh, that's new. I can't wait to see that. But I have no recollection of The Incredibles as being marketed and stuff. I feel like it was always there. I don't know how to explain it.
I remember the marketing because as a kid I thought the marketing was weird.
Really?
Because they really they would have all these little ads about each individual member of the family, and they made all of these really awkward sitcom jokes where it'd be like Mr. Incredible weakness diets, and then they'd show that bit where he can't get the belt across his stomach. Yeah. Or
weird.
The Elastigirl one would really emphasize that bit where she's looking at her waist, kind of is this too many C's of thick?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember that. I don't remember seeing it in theaters, right? Yeah, it's the same problem where it's a weird.
I don't remember. All of my memories of Incredibles are TV airings.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, no.
It
same.
is.
Or DVD because my family got all the Pixar DVDs.
Yeah. But either way, I know it front ways, back ways, and I know every nuance of it. And so, but.
Yeah. And
just can't remember how or why.
I've come to appreciate it more as an adult because I've become a really big Brad Bird head.
Yeah.
Brad Bird, the director and writer.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll just briefly geek out about Brad Bird. I mean, you're familiar with him too. He was sort of this wonder kid. Got a Disney internship at age 16 because he impressed one of the original 9 old men of Disney. So he got a job right out of Cal Arts and immediately blew it because on Fox and the Hound, he was apparently impossible to work with and was like, this is bullcrap. We're not working hard enough. This could be better if we just do these things. And they just fired him.
Oh, cool.
He sort of
I did not know that.
Yeah. He was kind of in a void for a while, ended up having his career resurrected by being a creator on the very early Simpsons episodes, some of the most famous. Then he briefly worked at Warner Brothers, where they were trying to get their animated films going. Made The Iron Giant, which is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the great American films.
Absolutely, yeah.
Only to have it bomb horribly because the studio had no idea how to sell it.
Right.
And then all of his friends from college happened to end up working at Pixar, and they're like, hey, how about we bring you in to do a project? And he's like, well, I got a couple ideas. One of them's about this superhero family. And they're like, yes, good.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll do that. And basically, made him one of the best animators in the world.
Nice.
Which brings us to, finally, The Incredibles 2. People have been asking him for a decade, where's Incredibles 2? Where is Incredibles 2? And he always said, once I figure out the story, I'll go for it.
And you know what? There are certain movies where, like, the sequel was so far detached, like, as far as time from its original, that I, like, am like, why did you bother? But, like, as soon as, like, I was like, no, I've always wanted this. Like, I don't care how late. I would wait another decade. And you'd put it out, and I would be completely fine with that. Like,
no one was, like, when Anchorman 2 came out, people were like, really? When Dumb and Dumber 2 came out, people were just like, ugh.
Why? Yeah.
No one was like that Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
This was hotly anticipated.
Yes.
You know, they finally got the story. It actually ended up getting moved a year up because Toy Story 4 was taking a little too long. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, here we are.
Yep.
So about a month or two out from its release, how do you feel about it?
I want to see it. You know what? How I feel, and I hate to admit this, I want to see it again, but I don't want to pay for it again.
Ooh.
And I hate
That's a tough one.
Because my opinion of it is pretty positive. Like, it's like 40, 60 being like 60% positive, 40% negative. So I was like, I felt really good about it, but I'm going to wait for it to be on demand or on Netflix. Like, I really want to see it again, but I don't want to pay for it again. And that's how I feel. Because, like, I don't know, I feel like I did a good job of, like, committing a lot of it to memory, like, so that I can recall it for obviously this purpose, like, right now. And, like, think about it again. And I obviously have the banging soundtrack to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. That soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah.
First of all. But anyway, we'll get to that. But I don't want to pay for it again.
Yeah, that. I feel like a lot of people are in that case. I feel like that's the consensus where no one wants to say it's bad because it is not bad. It is
bad.
Pretty dang good overall. It's just a problem of after 10 years of waiting.
Right.
It doesn't.
After 10 years of waiting, like, I was disappointed. Like, I hate to say it, but the parts of it that were disappointing are greater than the parts of it that excited me.
Exactly.
For me.
Yeah. It's a lot of individual fantastic moments that were cheated. That never seem to quite fit into like, because I feel like we don't appreciate, like, I feel like you could teach writing classes about the first Incredibles in terms of, like, there is not a single wasted part.
Right.
Every single scene builds up to this main emotional arc of finding yourself, accepting who you are, being special.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, also, like, every single character had a really strong arc.
Yeah.
Mr. Incredible's whole thing was trying to prove to his kids that it's okay to be special, only to have it turn into this martyrdom thing of, like, I want to do it alone because I don't want you guys to get hurt.
Yeah.
And then learning to trust his family, you know, Elastigirl embracing being a superhero again and realizing she can have it both ways.
Right.
You know, Dash finally getting to use his powers, even though I still, like, I'm a little iffy on him getting to compete in the track meet at the end, just because it's like, that's not... He has an unfair advantage.
Yeah, that's cheating.
That's not
that's
just being
100%
a better athlete
cheating.
than everyone.
I know.
That's having a, like, literal biological advantage over people.
Yeah.
And Violet, like, you know, going from hating herself to loving herself.
Right, exactly.
Whereas this film feels more like a lot of great individual sitcom-y moments.
Yeah.
Where the core theme kind of gets lost.
Right.
For me, it feels like a lot of ways for the world of The Incredibles 1 is a huge leap forward in terms of that universe.
Yeah.
Whereas this feels more like an epilogue.
Yeah.
Because at the end of Incredibles 1, the idea was, superheroes will become legal again eventually. But until that, you know, just keep doing what you're doing. Public opinion's changing. Whereas this just continues that without... And we just end up with, superheroes are legal, but couldn't we have assumed that was going to happen anyway?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's... Like, I have seen it twice. I did end up seeing it a second time in theaters. Yeah. I was a little hesitant, too, but I will say I liked it a lot better the second time, only because once you get that 10 years of waiting out of your system, once you just get that anticipation and, like, unknownness out of your body, just enjoying it moment to moment is a lot easier.
And I also, like, the second time were there as many children?
More, actually.
Oh,
the second time I saw it was way more crowded for some reason.
that's part of the reason that ruined part of my experience. I was honestly, and I don't know why I was surprised. Not that I was surprised, but I was I was pissed off at how many little children were there. They were not pleasant to be around. They were as annoying as you'd think they were, and nobody respected how important this was to me. And I could see on the faces of the other young adults, on the other 20-somethings in the room, that we were like, this is blasphemy. Like, why did you bring children in here? What do you think this is?
I don't love kids in movie theaters, but the level of hatred you have in your soul.
But it was like, there was like this mom and this little girl kept like getting up, and our theater has reclining, those electric reclining seats, and kids love to play on those, like, and it's like, so because of the reclining, like the aisles, like the horizontal aisles of each row, like they're like double wide, so that like, you know, people are sticking their legs out, and this little girl next to me kept running back and forth, like she kept getting up, and she was a little girl, and they ended up leaving like halfway through the movie. Like, it was just like my experience, like I don't know, I am so like I'm already one of those weirdos that's like, when I'm watching a movie, like even through the trailers, like I want no one to speak to me. Like I'm like in a zone, like I'm in a trance, and I get like really irritated if at any little, like someone starts like jingling their keys, I will like throw my drink or like something, like, you know. So I'm already like super anal about that stuff. So to be in a theater with children,
like, we really should record one of these video because you're moving. I know. You're physically moving right now.
I know.
I will say, I know we should probably be talking about the actual movie.
Yeah,
but,
we should get to it.
The second time I saw it with my girlfriend, we were in, it was in New York. It was another assigned seats one. And she was really stubborn about the assigned seat thing, where she's like, no one actually follows that. And I'm like, you would be surprised.
Excuse me?
Yeah. You'd be surprised how anal people get about assigned seats. So she brings me to a couple seats in the middle, even though we're supposed to be in the front. I'm like, are you sure about this? And it's fine. And it was fine for the first 40 minutes of the movie. Well, not that much. Like the first 20 minutes, up until like the inciting incident where they meet the two, the siblings. And then this family of four is like, excuse me, you're in our seats. And I suddenly got to her side where I'm like, yo, if you show up 20 minutes late to a movie, you do not get to keep your seat.
Forget it.
Sorry, something happened. Right. But, like, no, you forfeit your seat at that point.
That is so funny. It happened to me once when I, like, another side story, I went to see The Last Jedi in IMAX, and this was, like, long out from the release of The Last Jedi. Yeah. And I, like, since it was in IMAX, like, those were assigned seats, too, but I was like, I accidentally, like, read the chart wrong, and I accidentally picked a seat that was all the way at the screen.
Yeah, no,
so I was like, well, this is, like, a Tuesday in the middle of the day, like, nobody's gonna show up, so I picked a random seat, and obviously, like, the one other person in the whole theater was like, oh, I think you're in my seat. And I was like, we're the only people in here, right? But I was like,
why are you gonna fight me on this?
Okay, that's fine. So, but anyway, all right, let's get to the movie.
Should we just go through the plot, or how are you thinking we get through this?
I think we should go character by character. Like, let's start from the top and go through the whole cast. So, wait, Mr. Incredibles.
Yeah, so
Mr. Incredible, sorry.
So he was, like, the core of the last film. Like, his story is what sets everything off.
Right.
And I'm going to admit, I actually liked a lot of his stuff. Yeah. Like, I thought I was going to hate it because it was all like Mr. Dad.
Shticks. Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, being a parent is hard work.
Yeah, right.
But, like, I like how earnest they commit to it and how much, like, they do a really good job finding this good balance between having him be a dope and having him be, like, an earnest good parent and also just being crazy.
Right.
Because, like, the amount of, like, and this is also a testament to how much the technology has improved in terms of, like, how the characters look.
Right,
because just the range of expressions they managed to get out of his face. Because it starts out, like, he's trying really hard. Like, he's, like, studying math. He's, like, you know, helping Violet get ready for a date. He's, like, learning how to do all this stuff. And then, inevitably, everything goes wrong because because it's a movie and we need that to happen that way.
Right.
And, like, by the time Jack starts teleporting through walls and stuff, he has, like, 5 o'clock
That's
shadow.
So funny. That's so
his
bad.
eyes have turned like bloodshot red.
Yes.
His face is like saggy. And he has that meltdown where he's just like, I'm Mr. Incredible, baby.
Right.
I gotta be always on top of everything. And I will admit, like, it is a good, like, again, if we're thinking of Incredibles 2 as more of a slight step forward as opposed to a big leap, it fits how we've established his character of being this kind of like, I can do everything, I want to show the world I can do everything, and just being constantly befuddled by like, these basic things are slowly killing me.
Right, yeah, I can't do 6th grade math.
Yeah,
Like,
because they do math differently now.
Right.
Which I have been in arguments like that.
yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, what is your favorite, what was your big takeaway from Mr. Incredible?
Well, it's so weird. It was like, the idea of, like, the stay-at-home dad is kind of, like, separate from the time period. Like, when I think, like, there's a lot of parts and, like, a lot of these characters and a lot of parts of the plot that make sense for, like, this 60s, but we haven't really defined what year it is, but it's obviously the 60s. Like, I didn't realize how... excuse me. But, I didn't realize how exactly, like, how progressive they made it. Like, and it really doesn't suit, like... It really doesn't suit the time period, but I guess I didn't, like, obviously in 2018, we're like, this is, like, quite normal and also very nice.
It feels very Disney, and it's like,
yeah,
we'll have a nice sugar-coated version of the 50s
what was really
and 60s.
going on. Yeah, he has a black friend, don't worry.
Yeah.
Everybody's nice.
Yeah. You know, yeah, he has a black friend who's, like, a beloved and uncontroversial celebrity.
Him.
Yeah,
yes.
who everyone loves.
Yes, indeed.
Unconditionally.
Yes, 100%. Okay, Elastigirl?
Yeah, I will say, the Elastigirl stuff is what disappoints me the most.
Really?
Yeah, again, the individual moments, great. Like, that action scene with her on the motorbike.
Yo!
I'm just gonna let you go off for a second on that.
Okay, first of all, Elastigirl is, like, a feminist icon, and, like, that was apparent, like, right out of the gate in the first movie. Like, honestly, like,
and it's
her
only
own
become
when
more
she was
codified
young.
as time has passed.
Yeah.
Like, it's even more now.
Right. But, like, I don't know what's different, like, if I'm different or if they did something to her, but, like, why is she so hot?
I'm just gonna let you talk about this because I don't want to get in trouble.
Good. And I'm, like, looking at this chick, I was like, maybe it was, like, I'm thinking, like, is it the colors of this, like, different uniform she's got on? Why did I not notice that she's got hips for days? Like, why did I not notice that she, like, has got, like, mad cake? Like, why did I not realize she was thick with 2 C's? I was like, this chick is so hot. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm, like, trying to think, I was like, did my child self not notice her that way? Or have they actually altered her appearance?
Probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, yeah.
Because they definitely have
redesigned the characters. I was like, you hot. Like, yeah, and even, like, I was like, this woman is, like, beautiful. But anyway, and like, this movie emphasizes how cool her powers are. Like, she's got, like, to be able to, like, to strut, like, in that motorcycle, when the motorcycle, like, splits apart and she's, like, riding both sides of it. Like, I was like, you're really cool. Like,
yeah, like, you know, they did a little bit with her powers in the first one, but because she's not in it that much, you don't get to appreciate it. Like, you know,
her coolest trick was, like, being a parachute.
The parachute and the boat. But she's still
she
very parachute-centric.
Right.
Yeah. And then the boat, which was kind of just weird.
Yeah, that was odd when Jack
well,
is
we
the
need
motor.
a way to get her out of the boat.
Right.
we need to get her out of the water, so,
or Dash is the motor. Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, no, that's definite. Like, they do some crazy stuff with her stretching in terms of, like, oh, she's basically a slingshot.
Right.
She can shoot herself across the city in a matter of seconds. And she's also kind of Spider-Man. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like, also, can we appreciate how strong it takes to slingshot, even with stretchy powers, to grab onto a bar, hold on to that bar, and catapult yourself through the air? Like, that's really cool. Every single action scene with her is great.
It's amazing.
There's this daring helicopter chase where she has to, like, jump from helicopter to helicopter and, like, pilot. And that's a cool callback to the fact that, no, she has pilot skills from the last one. Which I'm like, that's a nice little callback.
Right, yeah.
I love her new costume, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I like how they're like, no, I can't be dark and grit. Like, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I love the redesign. That's my kind of, like, secret shame about the first Incredibles. I don't care for their team outfit.
I don't like it either, yeah.
I'm just not a fan of red and orange as a color scheme, to be honest. It's
with,
just
like, black accents.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't pop, like...
It feels
too
heavy.
similar.
It feels like extra uniformed and like and just heavy. Yeah.
Whereas like Mr. Incredible's powder blue like pops with the red and black.
I liked her original, like when she was young and had that long hair. Yeah.
I love all of the fight scenes. The fight scene with her in Screenslaver where they're in like the strobe room and it's just a big punch up. Like that's super. Like I just love the grit to that. Like, it
Right.
feels like a pulpy 50s comic
Yeah,
where
yeah.
every punch feels like 20
Right.
pounds.
But, like, I mean, that's, like, the other thing that really was impressive about Elastigirl. Like, I mean, even though I said that, like, Mr. Incredible's role was out of the ordinary for that time period, Elastigirl's role was spot on, because that's exactly what women were starting to do. Like,
Yeah.
she, like, that's actually, like, really accurate for, like, what
Yeah.
was actually going on. And so, like, her kind of internal struggle of, like, I can be a mom, or, like, that, and that was more towards the end of the first one with, like,
Yeah.
struggling between, like, oh, I need to
Yeah.
be a good mom.
Yeah.
And
Where she's
also,
like, no.
like, I got a
Yeah.
job. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's a very good complementary piece in that sense to Agent Carter, where
Mm.
Agent Carter, the whole theme is like, oh, all of these men coming back into the workplace in the 50s, what is the place of a woman now that, we suddenly have this influx of male, like, authority again? And this is, like, the immediate aftermath of that. I almost wish they, like, focused on it more. Mm-hmm. Like, we talked about it being sort of like an apolitical, more, like, fanciful version of the 50s, but I feel like doing a little more with that would have given it a little more meat. It also, like, again, that also just emphasizes that there are pieces of a theme hovering throughout the film that never quite seem to, like, get focused on.
Yeah.
Because I like how Brad Bird gets a lot of flack in his work for being a quote-unquote objectivist. The idea of, like, society would be so great if the normies just stepped back and let the great people be great.
Yeah.
That Ayn Rand stuff that doesn't account for, like, societal disadvantages and systemic oppression,
Right.
and, like, how that decides who gets to be normies and who gets to be special. And The Incredibles got a lot of flack for that, because it's like, it's like, oh, all of you normies won't let us superpowered people be superpowered.
Yeah.
This film does a good tackles that pretty well, in the sense of, like, the key difference between Screenslaver and Elastigirl is just one has empathy and cares about people, and one does not. And I think that's a good way of tackling the theme that Brad Bird's basically tackled in all of his films.
Right.
Like, Ratatouille's also about, like, oh, you guys don't appreciate the special person because he's a rat.
Right.
And Tomorrowland is like, all we special people are getting tired of this crap. We're going to go make a secret society. But, again, that never, like, they just don't focus on it enough. Dash or Violet?
Oh, I was moving on to Frozone. I was thinking
Frozen.
with the adults.
Yeah, let's go with the adults.
Okay.
Frozone.
First of all, so I don't know why, and like before I start, I like messaged Carter one day and I was like, is it corny to refer to Frozone as cool?
And
I believe it is, but like I have no other word.
Yeah, there's no word that is concise enough and specific enough
he's
to
cool.
capture
He's
it.
cool. Well, but like I just want to say that like this movie, for whatever reason, like, and maybe it was because the first one, like, it was just about the family and their powers, but it's like I feel like I never got a taste of like what like superheroes actually can do, and it was like
Especially in
this movie
this
really
universe.
and this movie really emphasized how cool it is to be a superhero, and like not just like Frozone, but like all of the other supporting superheroes that like come out of nowhere, like watching them all do their thing, you're like, that's amazing. Like super heroes are like really cool.
Yeah.
And like so this one, like Frozone, I never really appreciated, like he
How
was
cool
just
ice
kind of the
powers
funny
are.
black guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you actually can do a lot of stuff. Like you're
how like practically useful and awesome just being able to shoot ice and snow out of your hands is.
Yeah, right. And he's also like, I like that in all of the madness going on in like the Incredibles household, that he was like often the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And like, and they never really say what his like, other than his wife, but like what kind of family he has, or if he's a dad. But like he seemed to like have more of a like, when he came over to the house, like when Jack was like combusting, he seems to have a grip. Yeah. And it's like, you're like the coolest dude ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're cool.
I mean, I keep complaining about like theme and plot and stuff, but maybe a part of like the reason I appreciate it more the second time is where I'm like, now that I know the story, there's so much more room, because the first movie is so focused on like family drama and stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that this one's plot is a lot simpler also just lets it have a lot more fun with like, we live in a world of superhumans. Let's just do weird stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens when this person punches this person really hard.
Yeah.
Or what happens when this person shoots ice at that person who can shoot magma.
Right, yeah.
Like, and that creates a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, that's where Frozone really gets to shine, because you're like, oh, he's actually really good
Right.
at this. He is good at being a hero, even though he was more or less content not being one anymore.
Right, yeah.
L-
Yeah.
He kind of came along unwillingly to, like, Mr. Incredible's, like, vigilante work.
Right, yeah.
Whereas now that he can just be one, it's like, oh, he's great
He's
at
awesome,
this. He
yeah.
was born for this.
Okay, so now that we've gone through all the adults, like, let's interlude here to talk about their theme songs. So first of all, wait a minute. I mentioned this to Carter that was, like, we're part of a generation that didn't really, like, we kind of had a secondhand Batman experience. And I mean,
Yeah.
like 60s Batman.
Like, most of our heroes
And, like,
are inherited from other generations.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, but, like, we did not grow up watching, like, pow, like,
Yeah, like the
boom,
sort of kitschy
big band.
60s
Yeah,
versions of all our heroes.
Stuff, and like even like they show the Batman reruns on like MeTV right now, and like my mom still like gets excited about it, like as if the way she did as a kid. You know what I mean? And it's like seeing this movie, I was like, oh, I feel like hearing the music and like just like the environment of like these sharp like the 60s architecture,
Yeah.
like the 60s design. It was like. I was like, this is an exciting universe. Like, this is an exciting, like, superheroes are very, very cool. And, like, that's something that, like, I, like, never really appreciated until now. And, like, so with all of their theme songs, like, I always stayed through, like, the credits just to see, like, what would happen. And, like, they played every theme song and, like,
yeah,
of
the
each
idea in
Mr.
this
Incredibles.
universe is, like, all of the superheroes were pop culture heroes. And as
Right.
such, they all got their own, like kitschy theme
Batman-esque
songs.
song, yeah. And they like these songs were like they'd like get you real excited.
Yeah,
like
they get you into it.
It starts like I think Elastigirls was the first one that plays.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, like
and it
that's
starts
like
with this, like...
yes, it's like real hype. Like it's I almost like want to play it right now, but it's like it's super hype. Like it like just gets you like really excited. Like I felt like at the end of that movie, I felt very like proud of Elastigirl. So like to begin with like her opening, like she has like probably the most exciting song. And then, like, Mr. Incredibles was, like, pretty standard. There wasn't a whole lot to say about him, but they're like, he punches things.
Yeah, he punches in.
He punches stuff. And then, like, for them, and I thought this was, like, probably the best part, was, like, they acknowledge that Frozone is black with his song. Like, they gave him
like
a
cool
shaft. They gave him,
it's like
an
slick,
R&B. Yeah, they gave him...
blaxploitation-esque.
Exactly.
Like something you would have in, like, Black Dynamite or something.
Right, exactly. They're like, we know who this man is, and, like, we made it appropriate for, like, who he is for this time. Like, this is the song that he deserves. Like, and it really is the song, the Frozone song.
Yeah.
Is the only thing that he deserved, and it was amazing. So, so I just wanted to point out, like...
like, they do, like, I did love those, because, again... Like, The Incredibles... I
still listen to them, like...
The Incredibles movies find this really good balance of, like, 40s, 50s, and 60s superhero stuff, where it's, like, it has, like, the pulp and grit of the 40s, and, like, the coolness of... Or the 40s, the coolness of the 50s, and sort of, like, the kitsch of the psychedelic 60s.
Yeah.
And fuses all that together really well. And also, again, I'm just a fan of, like, world building in animated films.
Yeah.
Like, creating a world where all of these fantastical things actually exist, as opposed to just exist for the 90 minutes we're in them. And this film does a good job with little things like that. Love that.
Yeah. Did I ever mention that our high school marching band, like performed the first Incredible soundtrack, like, as part of, like a jazz...
Really?
They actually did... the soundtrack, and our high school marching band was like kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And they used to like travel a lot of places.
Yeah,
and like
they
go
opened
and
the Rose Bowl and the Orange Bowl.
Right,
and,
exactly.
Front of Queen
and
it was.
I think it must have been when we were in like 11th grade or something. But they actually like their jazz band had like one of their jazz shows for like the spring or something. They did the entire first Incredibles.
Really? That's really
theme.
cool.
Yeah. And I think they won like some kind of award for that like performance. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But anyway.
While we're taking this quick musical interlude, I'll just say the score again, killer. Like
Yes.
it almost feels perfunctory to say because again, it's an Incredibles movie. You know the soundtrack's going to be good.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's the same guy they got for the last one, and he hasn't missed a beat.
Right. Yeah.
It's so poppy. Like. I miss jazz in movies.
Yeah,
like I miss just coolness in movies.
Yeah.
Like everything now has to be like, like it has to be,
yeah.
like it
hard
doesn't,
sounding, yeah.
It has to be hard and intense sounding. Where this is just cool. Like you're having a fun
it
time.
does and it's one of those like we've always said Disney is good at creating these really like iconic things that only take about 2 seconds to recognize and like that's like
when you hear
there.
When
like
you
that's
hear that
all
xylophone
it takes.
intro, you're like,
Yeah,
oh.
you're like, this is happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, no, and also just like it's a thing all of Brad Pitt's films have where there's like he knows he's good and he knows his movies are good and he's just gonna he's just wants to show off. And that score, when cool stuff is happening, it just gives you this vibe of like, check out all this cool crap you're watching.
Right.
Isn't this awesome?
Exactly.
Aren't you having an awesome time?
Right.
You could be watching a different movie right now, but you're not,
you're watching
because this one's
one.
better.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, moving right along. So Violet
Violet, honestly, for me,
has the coolest side story. Like
yeah,
she
almost becomes the main character for me.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like capturing, like having a compelling story that has like a fulfilling arc from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. And in many ways, I like it because it's kind of a subversion of what Last Time was. Because Last Time was like, I
hate my family.
Yeah, I hate my
myself.
family. I hate how I'm weird.
Yeah.
But then she learns to appreciate it.
Right.
And then at the beginning of this film, she's really into it of like, I thought we were going to do, I thought we were going to be superheroes. I thought we were going to do cool stuff. But then, so I feel like we'll talk about like
it was so
the beat
harsh
to beat.
What happened to her. Yeah.
We'll get more into the beat to beat plot stuff in a second. But like, so the beginning of this film is like literally following from the first Incredibles.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of her, like, potential love interest boyfriend, like that guy, what's his name?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, generic, handsome.
Generic white name.
Yeah, generic.
Yeah, let's call him Michael.
Yeah, Michael.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's Michael today.
Okay.
Michael accidentally sees her with her mask
in
off.
Costume.
Yeah.
In her uniform, or what would you even call her? Super suit.
Super suit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the title of this universe is given costumes.
Yeah. Costume.
But anywho.
Anyway, they have to wipe his memory. They Men in Black style him.
Yeah, and it's
but like before that
happens,
it's like she actually has the courage to like ask him out or something. It's like something like that.
Yeah, they recreate that scene from the first movie, but with like the new technology, and it does make you again appreciate like, man, they've really come far with like how to make people look like human characters look good in these.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now she hates superheroes again because it's like, oh, now that I've had a taste of it, I've also had a taste of, like, the consequences of this. Like, the problems that come up when you're superpowered. So she hates superheroes again. And a part of it's just, they let her have the best expressions. Like, when she's angry, she looks evil.
Right.
And, like, when she's annoyed, she looks annoyed. There's a scene where she's, like, walking into the kitchen. You can only see her clothes because she's invisible. And you just see her get a tub of ice cream. And it's so stereotypical, but I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
And it leads up to my favorite scene in the movie where, trying his best to make up for this, Mr. Incredible brings them to the restaurant where this boy happens to work.
Yeah.
And she's drinking water when Michael goes, "Can I take your order?" Which she projectile shoots water out of her nose.
That's amazing.
And just, it turns into like an old school cartoon where her face just morphs. Like just, and like her nose is running and her eyes are running and her face is red. And it's the best visual comedy I've seen all year, and I feel so bad. I'm just like, God, stop it. Stop it. Can't you see she's already dead? But then she has but then she comes around because she sees how hard her dad is working and how everyone's working to make this work.
Yeah.
And, like, she has this cool, responsible moment at the end of the movie where she's like, if it comes down to it, I'll make sure Dash and Jack are safe.
Right.
No matter what happens. And it's like, cool. She loves her family again, and also, like, appreciates her powers again, and it's so cool.
Right, yeah.
I feel like if they were going to add more stuff, it should have been with her because, like, I feel like there's even more they could have gotten out of her.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they try to set up her and Void being, like, besties.
Oh, yeah.
And there could have been a lot more with that.
Right.
Next,
Dash.
He doesn't get anything to do.
He doesn't get anything to do, and I almost appreciate it because he, like... I even felt annoyed with him in the first movie. Like, as a little brother figure, I appreciate how there was almost, like, a touch of growth. Like, and maybe it was because he was encouraged to, like, maybe it was the track meet or, like, because he had felt more encouraged that, like, I felt like he acted out, like, I don't know, like, just, like, I felt pleased with, like, the math scene, like, and the homework enough, like, I appreciated how subdued he was.
Yeah. I mean, the thing was, he was, like, the second main character of the first film, because the arcs are, Mr. Incredible wants to be, show his kids it's okay to be unique, and Dash is mad that he doesn't get to use his power, so he acts out. Whereas this one, it's all Elastigirl and Violet, which I'm like, that's fine.
Right, yeah. So not much to say on him, but yeah, cool. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. Okay, the baby.
Jack.
Cool. So like when we started seeing previews for this, I was annoyed because it was they made this look like a movie of shorts about this baby. Like that's and I still can't figure out why that's what they went with. For those first previews where they're like, oh, remember how this baby combusts? We're going to do that for 90 minutes.
Pixar always struggles with selling their movies.
Yeah.
Like, the only one that I think, like, compelled me with the marketing was WALL-E, because the ads for that were all just, like, you know, in the 90s, we all met and we had all these crazy ideas about talking toys and a father looking for his son in the ocean. But now, a robot. But also a romance.
A romance, yes.
But no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like one of the reasons they didn't do the time jump that everyone was expecting, because Brad Bird, like, the creative team just really wants to do stuff with the baby.
Just do stuff with this baby,
like, someone in Pixar really likes that baby.
And it wasn't, like, I was pleasantly surprised at what they ended up doing with Jack. But you know what? Like, I'll get to that later. But anyway, I was pleased with what they did with Jack. I don't think it was too much. Like, I thought it added a lot of humor. It was realistic because he was still a baby.
Comedy. Yeah.
And it was good physical comedy, and like and the things that he turned into, like, they were interesting. You know what I mean? And it gave Mr. Incredible like a lot to react to. Like, so it was entertaining.
And I like that all of the powers kind of reflect the fears of being a parent. Of like, oh, this child could get out and I'll have no idea where they are.
Right,
or, they're going to multiply and they're going to touch everything.
Right,
I literally can't see them. Or, they're giant now.
There's a candle. Like, what if they catch on fire?
What if they cause a fire?
What if they're turned into a Tasmanian devil?
What if they just start screaming and I'm not in the mood to deal with that right now?
Exactly.
No.
And just the simple fact that, like, all that works is cookies. All we were doing is...
Like, And it's also an excuse to bring back Edna.
I was moving right along into Edna, and I was gonna say that, like, if they, like, if and when they go for shorts, I need an Edna baby short.
Yeah.
Like we gotta.
Yeah, because, like, the short for Incredibles 1 was, like, the fill-in of what was happening with the babysitter. Mm-hmm. Do that with Edna, just, like...
having a blast.
Yeah, just having the time of her life.
Yes.
Because the whole joke is Edna, at first, is repulsed by the idea of watching a baby. Only to watch him polymorph into her and just immediately be enamored at, like, this is a challenge.
Take it. Yeah, right. I want to, and they have a great old time.
Yeah. A lot of people argued it was Crowbart, but I think it fits her character well, because her whole thing is she loves superheroes because basically it means she gets to make fashion for gods.
Right, basically,
like, people who have the most incredible abilities in the world.
Right, yeah.
And she's just been given, like, this baby has all the powers.
Right, yeah.
This is the ultimate challenge you'll ever face. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So she was fun. Do you want to talk about the villains, or do you want to go through the plot, which would lead us to the villains? Like, we could literally just hop from beat to beat super fast.
Okay, that's fine.
The opening of the film, we get a cool stylized Disney opening that's all, like, red and orange, which I'm like, already I'm in.
I'm in, yeah. I'm ready.
It simultaneously starts exactly how I wanted it and not what I have expected. Like, because it starts with Michael, which I guess we're still calling him Michael.
We're gonna go with that, yeah.
Because I'm too lazy to check on my phone what his actual name is. He's being interrogated by, like, the head of the secret superhero undercover society guys. And he's retelling, like, this giant drill came out of the ground in the Underminer, they're literally just, like, starting right from the beginning of, like, the Underminer's here, which I love, because I love the Underminer. I love the whole concept of this, like, tacky themed villain with, like, bad puns and, like, a stupid outfit. Like, that is, like, the peak of, like, incredible... Like, that's one of the things I love about The Incredibles, the idea that there's all of these, like, crappy... like, themed villains running around, like Bon Voyage. Like, it's not all just stopping, like, guys with guns. It's like, there's crappy villains running around that are occasional annoyance. And that opening action scene just rules. Like, you get to see everyone use their powers. Like, there's, like, great jokes. It's paced well. All the action pops. Underminer has these, like, gauntlets that are, like...
I just looked it up.
I knew, like, I was like, I need to talk.
We were wrong.
What was it?
Tony.
All right. That's the second most generic.
Oh, come on, yeah. We were close.
Yeah. we might as well just call him Michael.
Yeah, it's Michael. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say, this opening action scene is just like, this is why I didn't want them to do a time jump, because I wanted to see them
finish
like
this,
like, they're trying to keep this drill from crashing into everything. I finally get the Underminer pun. He yells, "You've been undermined," and I'm like, I get the pun now. You get to see everyone use their powers. They're like passing Jack from one person to the other. Frozone just shows out of nowhere. And again, I love that in this world, heroes will just show up for like tag team moments.
Yeah, right.
Where it's like things are going wrong. It's like, hey, Frozone!
You're here.
Yeah. Like, oh, hey kids, check out my comic if you want to know what my deal is.
Exactly. All right, what's next?
So they get arrested. Underminer actually gets away, which I also love. He never gets found. He never gets his comeuppance.
Back to him.
14 years of build-up, and he just gets away with a lot of money. Because, because everyone's too busy doing shtick. So then we get... So it turns out superheroes are still very much illegal. Like, no one wants them. The superhero undercover agency is getting shut down. So basically the Incredibles are on their own now. And this is one of, like, the actual moments with a lot of heart where the family's all like, oh, I guess things aren't different and we're not gonna get to use our powers.
Yeah.
And...
they're in, like, a motel.
Yeah. Oh, and it's, like, this really, like, tacky...
It's dirty, yeah. It's, like...
And Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl have this really great scene where they're just like, oh, one of us is going to have to get a job. Like, what are we going to do?
Right, yeah.
Like, there's that line where it's like, I just need to find a job in 2 weeks or we're homeless. And out of nowhere,
exactly.
Frozone, again, like, hey kids, I'm back for another cameo appearance. Just in case you haven't bought my comics yet. So they meet up with these two people who are, like... they're like a telecommunications company.
Yeah. Something like that.
Again, their names are like, they're all very arch, so I don't worry about the names. Evelyn and
I don't know that
Bob
guy's
Odenkirk.
Name. Yeah, good guy.
That's the actor's name.
Good guy.
Yeah. I'll just call him Bob.
Good guy that you're not sure is a good guy until the end.
Yeah. So, spoilers, Evelyn's the villain. But
Evelyn's the bad guy. Even though it seems backwards from the jump, you're like, oh, this sleazy white man must be the bad guy.
Yeah, the one who's like... prone to outbursts and really big into like...
Right. Yeah. And this chick with the cool haircut that drinks martinis, she's got to be fine.
Yeah. Like, she's actually... I do love that. Like, the opening scene, she comes in late, she looks hungover. I'm like, was she drunk?
Yeah, right, yeah.
I love how they, like, do that. Basically, their deal is they run this company because their father was super into superheroes. Like, loved them. Like, was besties with a bunch of them. Like, put in hotlines for various heroes in his house so he could just call them up whenever. Burglars broke in. Instead of calling the police or running to, like, their panic room, he tries to call them, gets shot. Evelyn's like, if they just used the safe room, it would have been fine.
Right,
and Bob is like, I completely disagree with that.
Yeah.
If superheroes weren't illegal, this wouldn't have happened.
Right,
Which basically lays out, like, our two opposing viewpoints of, like, Evelyn being like, superheroes are a problem because they make everyone weak, and Bob being like, no, it's
we need
the
to lean
normies.
Into them.
Normies are not letting special people help us.
Be special, yeah.
So their whole plan is basically, hey, we're going to basically promote the F out of you guys. We're gonna save the day. We're gonna have you do a couple of big, like, hero moments, like, vigilante jobs. We'll spin it. Yeah, we'll spin it to make it. Because, the media always spins it as, these superheroes showed up and everything got blown up.
Right,
Whereas we'll spin it as, like, hey, a lot of people could have died if you didn't step in.
Right.
And they decide Elastigirl should be in charge because she causes the least amount of damage. Although, see, that's one thing that kind of throws me off. I'm like, Frozone's powers don't cause that much damage. Snow
it's
melts.
just gonna melt. Yeah. It's not gonna go anywhere.
Like, I almost was like, is this a commentary on, like, is this supposed to be, like, a political commentary of, like, well, we want the...
It has to be a white person. Yeah.
It has to be. Like, that's the one time...
exactly what it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, that just sets up our dynamic of this movie, Evelyn's going to be doing all the missions, and Bob's going to be home. And, like, we've kind of talked about it. Like, Dash is having trouble with math, and Mr. Incredible, like, doesn't get these newfangled math systems for these new millennials or whatever. Mm-hmm. Millennials in the 50s. Violet was going to go on this date, never shows up.
Because his memory was wiped,
because then Bob and her put one and two together of like, oh, whoops, I mentioned that he saw you, and now his memory got wiped. Because that's a thing that happens in this universe that we're just not going to talk about. Because whatever, people can punch through steel here. Of course, mind control exists. And Jack is just going off the rails. The scene in which we discover Jack has powers is, like, honestly, I feel like that's one of the reasons they made this movie. It's just, mwah, like, so well executed in terms of, like, great physical comedy. There's a raccoon outside. He's watching TV and sees burglars with burglar masks on and makes the association of, these both have bandit masks on.
Oh, yeah.
They get in a punch-up where he just starts showing all of his powers. There's that bit where the raccoon gets caught up in a pool chair, and Jack, you see him in a distance, combust, and just slowly start walking over. Great. Love it.
Amazing, yeah.
Yes.
I forgot all about that raccoon scene,
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Oh, yeah. Then we get Evelyn is on the case. There's this train. She has to stop a moving train, which, again, I love as a callback to the first one, because one of the big incidents we see Mr. Incredible stop is he stops a train, and all the people on the train sue him for their neck injuries, because they all got horrible whiplash. Love it. That's when we get introduced to this villain, the Screenslaver. I love it. What do you think of the design for Screenslaver?
It's scary.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's cool as hell.
Yeah, right.
Like, those big creepy eyes.
It feels frightening, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's because, like, that sort of thing is, like, a total real threat. And I feel like in our day and age, like, we're seeing more and more of those, like, suspicious, like, internet threats.
Like, it's like an anonymous type person. He has big goggles.
Right, yeah.
He has a mouthpiece that looks like a skull. It's really cool. And that gets us to our villain, whose whole shtick is, he's like, you know, society is too, like, automated now. Like, you don't talk, you don't have real experiences. You just let all the machines and the automation handle everything, and you let superheroes solve all of your problems. He almost causes an international incident by killing the prime minister of an unnamed, vaguely European country.
Yeah, okay.
And this is the moment when Evelyn... Oh, do you remember that creepy scene where... it's like, there's this big parade for Elastigirl. It's clear the spin campaign is working. And there's this little girl holding up a sign. It's like, what does your sign say? And it says, Screenslaver is still out there. And you realize her eyes are, like, glossed over.
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoa, that's...
It's a child. Yeah. Oh, no.
Again.
Yeah.
Like, see...
That's intense.
As I talk myself through the movie again, I'm like, see, this is why I don't hate the movie. There's so many cool little moments. Yeah. Everything is so well made.
Right.
And back at home, Bob's plans to make everyone happy have failed, because now there's even more math. There's long division now, and that's a whole nother thing. Jack is still off the rails, and he keeps turning into a demon, and you can't keep giving him cookies.
You can't, yeah.
Violet's
locked
just
herself in her room.
basically
she's going through
herself.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, Bob has a gosh darn meltdown. Possibly one of my favorite scenes, just in terms of, like, physical. He finds out his car was not destroyed. It turns out the Incredible car still exists.
I forgot about that, like, autopilot type thing that they, like...
And there's that
Jack. That is the thing that Jack does. That's, like, the one thing that he does. That's
he
cool.
gets so mad.
Or not Jack.
Dash.
Dash.
He finds it on TV, and he, like, finds the remote and almost, like, causes it to explode. I just love that shot where... He's staring in front of the TV, and then he gets up, turns around, and forgets there's a pool right behind him, and just falls in. And then that's when Evelyn and Elastigirl... it turns out Elastigirl's causing a bunch of heroes to come through the woodwork. This is where we get all of our, like, knockoff, like, second-rate heroes.
Right, yeah. But that are still cool.
Their powers are cool.
Their powers are cool, yeah.
Like,
some of their costumes are hideous.
Yeah, like, I wanted to ask you about that, because that's one thing we've talked about a bunch. Like, all the power sets are cool. There's Brick, who's, like, huge. There's Acid Reflex, who shoots magma out like a toad. There's Hawkman, who's just part owl, apparently. Electric Guy, who just shoots electricity.
Electric Guy.
Crusher.
Is that really his name?
No, I don't remember.
I don't know.
Sparky.
Yeah. Okay, but Sparky.
Crusher, who's, like, has, like, telekinesis.
Is what it sounds like, yeah.
He uses telekinesis to crush things.
The coolest one is the chick. Like,
yeah. And
honestly,
we have
she's the
Void.
most useful. Yeah.
Who
is the most respectful of them
and
all.
it seems like they put the most time into designing.
Exactly,
Which leads me to suspect she had more of, like, a story, and
Probably.
then it kind of got erased.
Yeah.
She can make portals, and it's really cool. And she's a fangirl for Elastigirl, and that's really
obviously,
cool.
yeah. And it's like, I feel like with the introduction of these other heroes, like, they also showed, like Like, wasn't there a scene where it's like all these other prime minister or like all these other dignitaries like had their own heroes?
Yeah, basically they all
and
brought
it's like
their
it
own
kind
hero.
of considers like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like this is a thing in other places too. Like
Yeah,
this is
it's
a
not just
global
American.
situation, and like there are these other universes going on.
Again, it's just expanding the universe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we get Evelyn and the Elastigirl come up with a plan to basically set up a phony interview to pinpoint what's his name, Screenslaver's location. And that's my favorite scene in the movie, when Elastigirl's like weaving through the city as because it's so comic booky.
Yeah.
Like Screenslaver's giving this huge monologue of like, oh, you're all puppets, and you know the system man and the government man and society. As Elastigirl's like weaving her way through the city, finds the place, and as she's like unlocking the door, you see Screenslaver right there, and she's like, oh.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
And it's this super claustrophobic like apartment with all these like explosives
tiny
rigged.
little studio, yeah.
And then they get into this really close quarters fight. Like axes are being thrown, people are getting hit with fire extinguishers.
Right.
Catches him. The guy doesn't seem to know what's going on.
Oh yeah, and
Which-
then you're like, oh, like he's a slave himself.
Yeah. Which I feel like for the kids, the twist that comes right after that would be really good.
Yeah.
But because we're adults and we're like, we've seen a movie before.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, he wasn't it.
Yeah,
It was somebody
right.
else. It just comes down to whether it was the sister or the brother.
Right. Yeah.
So then they're having a big party. Elastigirl's kind of like, I don't know about this. And she starts to put one and two together. And then, boom.
That part got me. Yeah.
Where I was like,
she
oh,
gets
we're going
slapped.
here?
Yeah.
Evelyn puts these goggles on her that brainwash
Right.
her too. And that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turns out Evelyn's the villain. What do you think of Evelyn being the villain?
I don't know. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
but like I said, I was expecting it to be the dude. Like I was
Yeah.
expecting it to be her brother the whole time. So it
Yeah.
was like, I was surprised that it was her, but then I suddenly became very annoyed with her. I guess because like in my mind I was like, oh yeah, like women working together, girl power, and then I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like she's kind of a meanie. Like
Yeah.
she's not a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, I
And I
kind
was
of...
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of like how it's like, you know, the first movie was a fanboy and the hero.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
a superwoman and a woman who
That
has no
hates
respect because she
for
had to
her.
earn everything.
Right. Yeah.
But I go back and forth. Because on one hand, again, it's the comment of like, there's a germ of a theme here about like our society's obsession with hero worship.
Right. Yeah.
Because since The Incredibles, the superhero genre is blown
Yeah.
up. Like, we have 3 Marvel movies every year. DC's
Right.
trying their best. There's like 3 or 4 other studios that are doing their thing. Like, we just had Infinity War, and we've only had 1 Black Panther movie, and we're gonna get, like, at least 2 more.
Right. Yeah.
And, like, I like the idea of her whole thing being, like, our hero worship is going to doom us because we're depending on 1 or 2 individuals to save us all the time.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing where I'm like, oh, this is politically relevant because we keep telling ourselves, like, oh, this one person will do it. Like, oh, we
But-
just need a U.S. prosecutor to finish up his investigation, and then
Right.
everything will be fine, as opposed to needing a group of people working together. I kind of wish Bob was the brother was the villain, though, because
Really?
yeah, because that would have been a nice twist on the first movie, where the twist in the first one is Syndrome hates superheroes, and he wants to make a world where no
Right.
one's special.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy loves superheroes, and he's convinced himself that it's governments and stuff to blame. So he
Yeah.
wants to basically have superheroes rule.
I don't know. I felt like when Evelyn is like revealed as the actual villain, like I felt like I sympathized more with the brother then, and like I don't know, like I felt like more attached to him, like
Yeah.
somehow, like emotionally.
Yeah.
And then I started to like really sympathize and be like, oh wait, you're actually like I feel
Yeah.
like I almost respected him as like not just like this sleazy kind of shrill sort
Yeah.
of dude.
Well, that's why I'm torn, because I really do like what they end up doing with the character. They establish he's just a big kid, you know?
Yeah.
He hero worships, he lost his family, so
Yeah.
he looks up to these people as, like, surrogate parents.
And then
I
he
respect
wasn't
that.
even surprised. Like I
Yeah.
feel like he wasn't
He
surprised that
yeah.
it was his sister. Yeah.
Once things start going south, he immediately figures out, like, oh
Right.
no, what have you done?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, which leads us to our big finale, which is Evelyn set up this scenario where all of these superheroes are going to be on a big boat together at this signing to legalize superheroes. and all of her brainwashed superheroes are going to crash the boat into the nearby city and basically ruin the reputation of superheroes forever. Which, like, is a convoluted setup, but it works for a comic book.
Right.
Like, when you say it out loud, it's, like, stupid, but then you remember we're running on superhero logic.
Right, so it's fine.
Where, you know,
that's
there are
impactful.
people who, you know, there are lizard people who want to turn everyone into lizards.
Right, yeah.
Or, like, Dr. Octopus wants to make a giant solar-powered thing that's going to accidentally consume New York. But, yeah, like, I don't really have any more to add other than this scene's fun.
No.
Like, we get all the characters together.
Right.
Poor Frozone tries his best manages to save the kids and also gets brainwashed and is like and is having like an out-of-body experience as his mind is controlled.
Yeah. I felt like the mind control scenes where it's like everybody at one point is being controlled. Like that honestly was stressful to watch.
Yeah.
Like I honestly
it's suspenseful.
felt
Like
anxiety,
I'm genuinely like
stressed out about this. Like, oh god, that's everybody. Like everyone has been controlled. Like now what? Who's gonna be the thing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like who's gonna pull this out?
Right.
And turns out Jack and the kids managed to save the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they managed to stop the plane. Evelyn tries to escape in a plane, and Elastigirl pursues. Crawling, she goes up high enough where like the oxygen starts getting low, and Elastigirl's like hallucinating. She manages to grab a flare and shoot her, which was genuinely one of the most shocking parts of the movie because I'm just like, oh,
whoa, she died.
Oh, she's dead.
Yeah.
She couldn't survive that. They managed to arrest her. She's fine. Honestly, it's just that whole section is just a fun vignette of powers because it's like, oh, Elastigirl versus Void. Like none of Violet versus Void. None of her shields work because she can literally just pull her out of from underneath the barriers, and they have a nice punch up. Brick versus Mr. Incredible.
Oh my gosh!
Like you realize how out of all of the family members, his powers are kind of the most worthless because it's like you're just gonna run into someone who can punch harder than you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there's like Crusher blocks off a part of the boat, and it's like, can you move this? I can't uncrush something. That's not how my powers work.
Right.
Like just the way they visualize lightning's really cool. Yeah, and then the film ends. Like I actually do really love the ending. So superheroes get legalized. Violet finally goes on a date with Tony.
Michael.
Yeah, still Michael in my heart.
Still Michael. We named him.
Yeah, so they go on their date. The whole family is driving them to the movies, and then we get basically a repeat of the last movie, except now it's a car chase. These bank robbers are driving through, and you hear that da 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 da, and they're all looking at each other like And Violet looks around like, stop the car, pushes him out, and is like, I'll be right back. And then they go, and I'm like, that's such a sweet way to end this movie.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's so funny.
Yeah, as talking through it, it's a bunch of really fun moments.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of fun scenes. It's a lot of great music, a lot of great visuals, a lot of great gags, a lot of great fights. And...
All right, let's go into what we didn't like.
Oh, yeah. Should
I start?
Yeah, I know what I was
what
about
I'm
to say.
going for, what's been
what
stuck
turns
in
it
my head.
from a gentleman's 7 out of 10 to a 0.
To a 0.
To a dead 0.
Let me tell you, I almost stood up in the theater. Like, I have never felt more heartbroken. I've never felt more disappointed by just this one aspect that was an utter failure. They let so many of us down. Like, can you agree with me? We were so let down.
A nation betrayed.
We were betrayed.
A nation in limbo. Watergate all over again. The president could lie to us. A movie could let us down.
Yeah, like honestly, this was the biggest letdown of 2018. Everything considered, all of 2018 considered.
With everything that's going wrong.
With everything that's going wrong in this year, this is the number one disappointment. And it is the honey scene. Should I even call it a scene?
It's not even a scene.
It's not
even
a
punchline.
scene.
It's a gag.
Punchline.
It's a gag.
That was not even delivered the right way, let me tell you.
I'm just going to let you go off for a second. You need to get this out of
You
need to get this hate out of your body.
Because, okay, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to say. Honey was the only reason that Frozone mattered. In the first movie, the only reason anybody ever has any reference for Frozone as a person, as a character, was because of Honey. That was the most memorable line where's my super suit? Like, that
the
mattered.
Signature meme of the movie.
Of our lives. It was the beginning of memehood for us. It was...
Memes didn't exist before then.
It was the beginning of our humor as millennials. Like, that was just a quintessential part of our being. Like, that line, that scene, and this, like, faceless wife character. It was like... Oh, it was the fabric of this whole movie, and it was the only reason any of us came to see this. Like, they had to know that, and I'm trying to figure out, like, why did they not understand that the only reason we're here...
A lot of people wanted to see
is
more
to see Honey. That was
like,
the only reason I was there. Like, and I enjoyed the movie for a lot of reasons, but the only reason I was there is because I wanted another Honey scene. I needed it.
Everyone was expecting it.
Everyone was expecting it. Everybody wanted it. And then they gave us the biggest disappointment because, let me tell you something. Oh my God. Okay. So in the months before this release, they put her in the preview.
Yeah, they do that. They already
put her in the preview.
Which for me suggests there's going to be a lot more to her character.
Exactly. But not only was there no more than what we saw in the preview, there was less than what we saw in the preview because they used a different vocal take. So like and for some reason for the preview they used like the funniest like black woman sassy voice for that line. And what even is, I don't even remember what the line is. It's like,
where
you better
be
going
back ASAP.
Yeah,
you better be back ASAP. And I'm not going to do the affect for very obvious reasons.
And it was funny it got you so hyped because you're like, I remember her, like I know her.
Yes.
Like, I was waiting to see this, and she's like, you better be back. Oh, he was like, I'll be there ASAP. And then she was like, where are you going? You better be back ASAP. And she says it like so hard. Like there's so much emphasis like on every syllable. And you're like, yes, there it is. And then like when I was sitting in the theater, it was like, when that scene was approaching and he answered his phone, it was like everybody recognized it.
Yeah, we all know. We're all getting
up. That's the thing from the preview.
Yeah, and we're all standing up in our seats.
Exactly. And you could actually feel it. Like in the theater, you're like, everybody's like holding their breath. They're like, I'm ready to laugh. Like, I'm ready for this to be good. And they used a different take from the actress, and it didn't have the same effect. They used a different take, and she didn't say it the same way. Why would they do that? Like,
You paused.
Not only, like, okay, if we're gonna give this chick one line, why did they go with the one that wasn't funny? Like, she just said it plainly. Like just, like, for the actual movie, like, all she said was, like, you better be back ASAP. Like, she didn't even say it with any personality. She had no attitude. There was no there was no emphasis. She just delivered the line. And it was like, why would they advertise the character the way that we remember her and then not actually
and use a much more subdued line?
Yeah. And so that's the reason I sat there, because I just knew in my brain, I was like, you know what? After these credits are over, they're gonna do something with her. Right? I just knew.
Same. I was like, after credits scene, it's gotta be.
I was like, there's no way they're gonna do Honey like that. There's no way they're going to do Honey like that. So I sat there, I was like, I just know. I had my hands crossed. I was like bopping along to these like cool songs. I was like, okay, I can dig it. I can sit here through this. And I just knew that there was going to be an after credit scene, and like they were going to do something with her, because that's what we paid for. That's what I paid for. Like, I wanted a Honey scene. And for that reason,
we all showed up.
We all showed up for a Honey scene, and like for that reason, like that's what I meant in the beginning when I said the disappointing parts outweighed the good parts for me.
Yeah,
I am so heartbroken.
'Cause like,
I just wanted a Honey scene.
Yeah, because we could talk all day about like, oh, you know, how many years of waiting have we done? How many decades? Like, it was never going to live up to our expectations or hype perfectly. But that one is like, come on. Come the F on.
That was iconic. Like, it was
such an easy layup.
Iconic.
Give this character more to do.
Right.
Give her a character.
At
Let
least
her be
give her
even
the
more
same.
funny. Yeah, or at least keep her at the same level.
Match what she did the first time. They couldn't even do that.
And it's their excuse that annoys me the most, where they're like, you know, we thought about doing a scene with her, like a scene where you see her, but like, no design we could do could live up. F you!
We didn't even ask for that.
Yeah, like,
we're not here for that.
I just F you.
Yeah.
Why?
What?
Like, literally, you have 14 years. Like, literally, any physical representation of her would have caused people to get out of their seats and cheered. That's literally, it was a layup, and you decided to slam it against the backboard in rage. No, I agree with you. And yeah, it's
so
like
disappointing.
and I guess that's the folly of like any sequel way after the fact, because it's like you have so many wishes, you have so many dreams
Right.
that they're never going to be able to fill them all
Yeah.
out in like 90 to 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would add, but I'm like, what can I possibly add to that? You covered it.
I just
You just needed to
I
get
don't
that
know.
out of your
I just
body.
had to get that out of
Like,
my system.
as I'm just going through the plot, I'm like, I'm just gonna give her a minute to just let this sit there, just so
I've
she's
been
ready.
simmering on. I've just been like, this has been steeping
Yeah.
in my mind. I'm very upset.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the short? Should we talk about Bao?
Oh, right. Well, just to quickly talk about my
Go ahead.
disappointment.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I covered it. I've just said like there's a lot of strands of themes, like this idea of hero worship, this idea of like television, kind of brainwashing people, this idea of like everyone becoming complacent, like this idea of like, would you rather be the person in front of the camera or the person behind the camera? Like all these good themes that just never seem to come together. The thing I discovered after the fact is apparently this film got kind of rushed. So after Tomorrowland was one of the biggest bombs in box office history, suddenly Brad Bird's like, oh, I have an idea for Incredibles 2, which I'm not going to be cynical and say he's trying to make a movie that will make money no matter what to get himself out of the doghouse, but it really does feel that way. Anywho, so apparently, as they were working on it, about halfway through production, he realized his ideas weren't coming together. So they kind of recouped things and structured things. And John Lasseter, a.k.a. Lots of Huggin' Bear, a.k.a. the failed chosen one, comes up, a.k.a. the man who stabbed us all in the heart.
You call him Lotso Huggin'?
Yep.
I hate it.
I stole that from Blank Check. I can't even take credit for that. That's the worst
funny.
part. A.k.a. the man who stabbed us all in the heart and betrayed us all.
Yeah.
Comes and goes, hey, so Toy Story 4 is taking too long, mostly because no one wants it. Can we swap release dates? Because Disney is very keen on keeping these certain release dates in their pocket. Like, we own these weekends. No one else can have them. That's why I'm convinced that Nutcracker movie's coming out, because they have that Prime November slot, and they're like, well, we don't have another Marvel movie, so...
We don't have another Moana.
Yeah, we don't have any more... Yeah, we don't have an animated film ready because we canceled that one Jack and the Beanstalk one, so...
Oh, yeah.
Anywho, so Brad, of course, says yes, but that means, oh, not only am I looking at a film that's not working, I need to fix it in half the time. But apparently Screenslaver was added like a couple months before release. Like, that was a late addition.
Whoa.
And I have to wonder if they had more time, but now he's saying like, oh, well, I have all these ideas for Incredibles 3, so I'm hoping that this means Incredibles 3, if it ever gets made, will be the most hop-in badass movie ever made. Yeah.
With more honey.
Yes, with more honey.
With any honey.
Like,
come on.
like
Keeper,
Winnie the
come
Pooh levels of honey.
on, Yes.
Just give us those jars of honey.
Please.
Just all of them. No oh bothers. More
No.
like oh yeses.
Oh, yeses.
Anywho, yeah.
Okay.
Want to talk about Bao real quick?
Yes.
Here is my biggest takeaway. Both times I saw it, people laughed, and it was the most uncomfortable I've ever felt in a movie theater. And I am including the times in Suicide Squad where women get straight up punched in the face, and it got a reaction of laughter.
Oh, jeez. Like, the Bao is one of those things that separates, like, the boys from the men, as they say. And, like, it separates the people who are, like, sophisticated, like, viewers of art, people who understand how art works.
Yeah.
And those who don't.
Yeah, who want to just
who just think shit is funny. It was
like,
not funny. It was heartbreaking. I was, like, shedding a tear when I watched it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so earnest and beautiful.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm so glad that Asian stories are being told. Like,
Yeah.
because they're everybody's story. Like, but, like, I'm just glad that these people are getting to tell their stories, like, in their own households.
Yeah.
In their own
it's
families.
Like, I'm sorry that you cannot empathize with this story in this specific telling, but you shouldn't be laughing at it.
And how can you not empathize? Like, why don't you relate to this?
Why does the cultural flavor make
Why
a
don't
problem
you relate
for you?
to this? Yeah, I relate. Like, I don't understand, but I don't quite remember laughter when I saw it. I don't think, like I said, I feel like there were a lot of younger kids, but, like, I was, like, shocked and confused, like, when she eats the...
Yeah, that was genuinely...
Because I was like,
whoa.
who is that? I was like, is that really, like... I was confused. I was like, was that really your kid? Like for a split second, you're like, did she literally eat her child?
Yeah, but it worked because it's just so shocking.
But it
wasn't.
You're like,
oh,
and then she sobs. Yeah, and then you're like, oh my goodness, that's so heartbreaking.
It's like a really well told, sweet story. Visually, it is so unique to anything Pixar has made in terms of the way the characters are designed.
Right, yeah.
Like the proportions.
Right,
paced, all of the physical comedy.
They remind me
of
like the Little Tykes toy. Like what were those like? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But I thought it was so beautiful. Like I'm really getting into the shorts, except for Olaf's Frozen Adventure,
which was more
Olaf's Frozen movie,
which was we need more dresses to sell. Damn it.
Yes.
Hold on. I'm gonna look up the director's name real quick because I don't want to forget it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I can't remember, but I do remember before
I wrote Boa by mistake.
Before I saw it, I happened to see on Facebook like a behind the scenes video with the writer, and now she talked about how like it's actually like written after like her own mother, like was the inspiration for like the characters.
Domee Shi.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and as far as I'm concerned, they need to give her own feature yesterday. Like, I feel like Pixar's having a little bit of a problem where there's not, like, they haven't had a lot of new voices and new directors. Like, and I think they need to start taking these people who make really good shorts and giving them features again.
Right,
like, we need to start getting new talent in there.
Yeah,
because that was what made Brad Bird so special. Like, he wasn't originally a part of Pixar. He was... slaving away on like 15 different projects when they're like, hey, Disney, I know this guy left a bad taste in your mouth, but we're all friends with him. We know he's going to shake it up. We know he's going to give us what we need to keep on this streak of hit after hit. And that's what really rejuvenated Pixar for like post Toy Story 2 life.
Yeah, right.
Because at that point it was like, what? Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc. And then it's like, who knows where the studio's going from there.
Right, yeah.
And then it's like, Incredibles causes this chain reaction of like Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up. Like,
right, yeah. There was like a second part to that era. Of
great hits. Yeah, I think
that's about it.
Yeah, we meandered our way through all of Incredibles 2. I mean, a part of me, it's so hard when it's like a solid movie that you have fun with. Because it's like, the only way you can talk about it is just describing individual moments.
Everything that happened, yeah.
It's just a fun, entertaining movie.
It was,
But ultimately, despite its shortcomings, I think was worth the wait.
I do, yeah. I appreciate it for what it is. Even despite its shortcomings, like you said, like 60-40.
Yeah. So yeah, that wraps up this episode of the Disney Desk.
Yes.
And until next time, I'm Carter.
And I'm Sydney.
Have a magical day.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Disney Desk. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and thumbs up this video. For more content, be sure to check out our Tumblr and look for us on Facebook. Have a magical day.